once you're in spot, I mean, your video looks great, your audio is coming through great, so there's no problems there. Some of the
Okay.
fun things about Passage is that as I'm moving around, like if I start running away, you're gonna hear me going like quieter and
Yeah,
quieter as I get further away. As I
yeah,
get closer, it's
that's
gonna be
cool.
louder and louder. But also, you'll hear where I'm coming from. So Sarah, you'll hear me on your left right now because I'm standing on your left.
Yeah.
You'll hear me on your right as I move around to the other side. There's like fully spatialized audio, so it's really fun because it really gives the feel more of like a conversation than like um, just talking at somebody in Zoom, right? So even now, like you can kind of tell, like I'm talking to Sarah, but then I can turn to Mark, right? And I'm looking you in the face. There is this sense of like interaction for one, where you actually feel like you're talking to somebody because they interact with you, right? They turn and face you. Sarah turns around as she's looking around. You can kind of get a sense of like what people are paying attention to and what's going on. Yeah, there you go.
Right.
Just getting the
I'm
hang of
just
it.
super slow. I'm like on a 2-second delay with my internet feed, but no, I'm getting used to it. This is fun.
Good, 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 good. Yeah, and again, no pressure. Feel free to just like hunker down in one spot. We can just hang out here, and you know, me and Mark will just spin circles around you while we talk.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
So where do you want to start? What are you feeling for the conversation? Do you have specific questions? Or you just want to run through the gamut?
No, this is cool. I'm like getting my bearings. Okay. No, we're going to just start with an intro.
Cool.
So we'll do it like our regular podcast and start like that. And then just kind of go from there. We go into your background. You're going to tell us about what you're doing. And that's it. And then we'll steal the audio from you, upload it to the podcast. We'll look for whatever this is going to be online, which looks like it's going to be awesome.
Heck yeah. Oh yeah.
And go with it.
Perfect. Heck yeah. Let's do it.
Okay. All right. Hold on. Let me get everyone back in my vision there. Okay. There's Mark. What's up, Mark?
That's cool. This is very, very cool.
Good. Glad you
This
like
is
it.
really cool. All right.
Yeah, I like it.
I'll just start us off with the intro, and that'll be the start of it. Oh, wait. How do I say your last name? Lex Avellino?
Yep.
Do I
You
have
got
that
it
right?
perfect. Perfect on the first try.
All right. This is Sarah, block editor. I'm here with Mark, mhl.eth, and today we have Lex Avellino of Passage.io, and we are recording this in a new location today. We are inside Passage.io. We have a world builder here with us today, so forgive us if we're a little slow on the uptake. We're in a world. It's getting our bearings, learning how to navigate inside, and this is a lot of fun. Now, before you get into telling us what is going on here, because this is wild, let's start off with your background, Lex. How did you get into this? Take us back before you were in Web3 and crypto.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that is a fantastic question. So basically, in terms of getting into this, here, give me just 1 sec. Actually, I'm gonna start that over. My dogs are making some noise. Give me just 1 sec.
Is the dog in the metaverse too?
Wait, where's the dog? Is he inside?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm back. Okay, so in terms of how I got into all this, I started a studio in 2017. It's like a creative technology studio where we're kind of solving a lot of problems in between tech and creative. And we were actually doing a lot of event designs for Warner Brothers, Dallas Cowboys, Red Bull, Disney, Marvel. We did a lot of really unique experiential events where we're designing these experiences in for like movie launches and big events where we will have thousands of people walking through this event, right? And we're designing it digitally. So we do all this like 3D animation and design. We're doing like pre-visualization, animation, showcasing like what the event's going to be like. And this is how they get approval for these like $10 million events. So we were already designing spaces like this, and we were designing it virtually. It's just that once we hit the whole COVID insanity, um, people were like, okay, hey, we're not willing to do physical events, and so we said, okay, how about we bring you into the virtual spaces that we've already been designing, right? So that's where we started trying to innovate, and we saw like what a lot of people were doing with virtual um, was really just like a live stream and a chat. Like that was the thing. And also now you have so many people. There's really a few archetypes that every virtual event or virtual collaboration platform falls into. You've got your video chats, right? And even stuff like GatherTown, if you're familiar, which is a really cool video chat, is still basically just a video chat, right? You're like walking around on a Pokemon style pixel map, which is cool. It adds atmosphere, but it's basically just like a cool looking interface for video chat. Because when you come up to somebody, what happens? But you just have a flat video chat at the top of the screen, right? And it's very flat. And so we were constantly looking to find something that kind of broke the mold, that was a little bit different. And again, we'd never touched Web3 at this point. This was like totally outside of our purview at the time. So we were just building this for our clients who we'd worked with before. So our first events where we were testing out this kind of platform, a 3D experience with video and audio, was back in 2020, 2021. Like between those 2 years, we did events with Amazon, Capitol Records, Scooter Braun, American Girl. And we created a lot of experiences basically just by ourselves as a service for these big brands to be able to showcase something different, but it gave us an opportunity to also iterate on this experience. So again, before the Web3 side of it ever came into things, we were just thinking about what is a better human experience, right? So that was just a big thing for us. And over that process, we learned a lot. We had like 30,000 plus people go through some of these events in a weekend, right? And so we learned a lot about, the infrastructure, about the format, what's interesting, what's not. And then from there, we're just constantly kind of like pushing the envelope, because initially these were built out on the web, because our principle was this can't require any downloads. It has to be easy to access, right? We want something that's going to be accessible for people and exciting. And so at first it was on the web directly, where you would just load into the web page. And then we switched to doing this experience, which is an Unreal Engine 5 streamed experience. So that's kind of how it developed. And then it was in like, I would say, end of 2021 that we started getting into the Web3 elements of this, and how do you own assets in the 3D environment, right? How do we create real ownership? And when we started building some relationships with teams like Akash Network for the decentralized GPUs that run these kind of experiences. So that's kind of where that started to evolve.
It's a really interesting experience. Now, so is this now we're sitting sort of in a town square kind of area, and it's beautiful. Is this mostly what we're in right now meant to be a social app, or what are the gamified elements here
Yeah, that's a
besides being
great
in here?
question. So for one, yes, the core premise of Passage is virtual collaboration. It's just a more human virtual experience, right? So the key principles here is being able to see people face to face. That's why the video element is so important. And the 3D element is important because that's how we communicate in the real world, right? As I move farther away, I get quieter. If I'm on your left, you hear me on your left, right? The spatialized audio. Being able to have different conversations in the same space, right? If you walk away, you could actually talk to somebody else on the other side of the room and not be interrupted by me talking to Mark over here, So being able to have that just real world analogy is really helpful, but also making it accessible. So what we're in right now is it's Unreal Engine 5 being streamed into the browser. So none of this is running on your computer. It's being run in the cloud. We're finalizing an integration with Akash Network, which is a decentralized cloud marketplace that's driving down the cost of GPUs because it's an open market for GPUs. And then from there, the Unreal Engine environment that we're in we can do all kinds of things. So I can like put videos up on a screen to do screen sharing or media streaming, things like that, to be able to do like presentations. But then in terms of other kinds of interactivity, we can really do anything that we want to do because our first integration was with Unreal Engine 5. All the gamification tools, all the environmental tools that come with Unreal Engine work natively in Passage. So we've basically tapped into the creator ecosystem of Unreal Engine to be able to get access to a lot of really cool games by default or interaction by default. So we've tried out both like fun social games. We've done like Fall Guys style games. We've had multiple teams hosting like D&D sessions in Passage. So there's a lot you can build on top of this, but the fundamental layer that Passage is really like meant to facilitate across any Passage world is the social layer. It's the collaboration layer, right? So we're building up this core of tools that people can use to collaborate better, to work better. We have people doing remote classes inside of Passage as well as another one of our, I should say we're in closed alpha, so we do have active users. It's not an open platform yet, but we do have people actively doing events, paying for streaming time, and going through the whole Passage workflow. So the use cases are really, really interesting, and primarily the things that we're catering towards is that the human element, that collaboration. It's really kind of three key verticals: remote work, like remote collaboration, education, and community, right? But really, the thing that kind of like touches our team most personally is the remote work element, because since 2017, we've been an entirely remote team. So before COVID made it cool, we were working remote. And so as a technology team, as a creative team, like this really came out of our vision for the tool that we wanted to have, working all across the country.
And
I was just dropping a post on X, and because I'm not only the first time recording a podcast on Metaverse, so I just
Yeah,
was doing a post there to the community and our followers. But I do have a questions, and uh, I'm gonna play devil's advocate here because
please.
in the recent months, I'd say I haven't heard much about metaverses and social fi. So my question is, are you still like 100% positive that this trend has not ended yet, or do you feel like it hasn't? I'd say started yet. So which one you think it is more?
Oh, I love that question. That makes me so happy. One thing I can say from the product side, and from the beginning, um, the trend of metaverse is a Web3 trend, and it's interesting. And I also understand that there was a broader trend of virtual because of COVID, but I don't think that was created by COVID or the whole 2020 scenario. I really believe, and I'll give you some reasons why, but I really believe that it was a trend that was already happening that was just accelerated by COVID, right? And so many people's eyes were open during that process that like, oh, I don't have to be in an office, right? Like we can get 80% of the benefit of being in the office by being remote, but the benefits of being remote far exceed what we're getting in the office, right? Work-life balance, being able to spend time with family, being able to adapt schedules, people being able to travel. Like there's just so much that's gained. Right now, Forbes has an article out sourcing a number of different studies that were done, and I think it's something like 98% of people right now want to be working remotely at least part-time, right? So that isn't to say they want to be working remotely all the time, but everybody wants to be working at least somewhat remote, right? And then at the same time, I think it's something like almost 60% of people. So we have a huge desire to be working remote. 1 in 5 people are currently working remotely right now. 16% of teams are fully remote right now. And I believe it's about 60% of people working remotely still have added burnout, like increased burnout from the tools they're using, right? From Zoom, from these platforms. And what we're building here, it really transcends, like narratives or cycles, because this is just the direction that things are going, right? People are going to be working more remotely. I don't believe in like some dystopian idea of the metaverse or utopian, however you picture it, where like, oh, we're all just going to go live in the metaverse and, live in the pods and eat the bugs. Um, I really do believe that will always be a balance, but remote gives you the ability to choose your balance, right? Working remotely allows you to choose how much do I want to invest in my work environment, how much do I want to invest in my home environment. Whereas being required to spend 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week in a particular place is incredibly limiting, right? Like that's what creates this lack of balance in a lot of ways. So point being, I think this is,
So
yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
would you disagree with Elon Musk when he says that working from home reduces productivity? Because he's a huge fan of working together and being, I'd say, in a collective space.
Mm, I don't know. That's a great question. There's an extent to which I would be tempted to say it depends, right? Like it depends on your team. I mean, what are you building, right? Elon Musk is building rocket ships and cars, right? Like, yeah, there are some things you can't do remotely yet, right? Um, Now, granted, Elon Musk might also build robots that can do this for us, right? He's that kind of guy. Um, but I don't anticipate anytime soon we'll be getting brain surgery remotely, right? It's going to be some doctor on like a game controller working on a robot that's doing your brain surgery. Um, so I absolutely believe that there are
Yeah.
areas.
Well,
Go ahead, please.
I think he was mostly in that interview. I think he was mostly talking about X and the fact that he fired 80%
Sure,
of
sure.
the employees and so on. And then he was like post COVID, so he was like, you gotta come back and work in the office because uh, based on his what he was saying is that working all together improves productivity,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you want to make sure that your employees are actually working for that 4 or 8 hours. So the only way to do so is by being all together, and so everybody checks each other, right? So
yeah.
and I work at home, okay? So I don't have a big business,
Right.
absolutely. But would you say that once you expand uh, having an office or a place where we can get all together and work together, do you think that would be better in terms of improving productivity?
I love these questions. I would, I think I disagree at this point. Again, I'm actually open to the idea. Like for me, it doesn't really matter because even if it decreases productivity, right? I totally recognize that being in person for all kinds of reasons is better, right? It's better to be in person. That's not really the question. The question is, um, it's better for the objective of maybe getting work done or things like that. Um, but is it better for the person, for the individual, right? Again, it's a balance. I would say I'd be willing to sacrifice some measure of work efficiency from my workers if I know that long term it's going to benefit their overall health and wellness, right? That it's going to produce better people, right? Because I think ultimately that's going to produce the better long term outcome, the better commitment, the better cohesion as a team, right? When you are serving the individuals on your team. So I would actually be open to the idea that remote work is to some degree less efficient, but that it has benefits for each individual contributing such that I still think you get a better work environment, right? Because again, it is always going to be cost benefit in terms of how you weigh these things out. That said, I totally disagree with this idea that you got to be looking over people's shoulders to ensure they're doing work well. I think if you have workers like that, where you feel like you have to have them in front of you in an office to know they're doing good work, then fire them because you're a glorified babysitter at this point, right? Like I've had people come onto my team, and again, we've been working remote for 7 years now, over 7 years, and I've had team members where I did feel like, oh shoot, I'm starting to babysit this person. I don't trust the time they're putting in because I'm not getting the output I need. But see, then it becomes about the output, and everyone gets to decide their own process, right? I'm not going to tell this person who's not performing, hey, your process is wrong. I don't know. I really don't know what your process is. I'm not going to say it has to be, from 9 to 5 or that you can't take 20-minute breaks or whatever. Like, it's just, are you creating the output that we need for the position you're in, right? Um, so from my perspective, it's kind of like it's all about the output, right? And so, but those people, we've let them go, right? It didn't work. And so the team that I have now that we've cultivated over the years is incredibly self-motivated, incredibly driven in the things that they're doing. They're open to working diverse hours, right? Some people work overtime. Some people, just flex their hours in different ways so they can take care of their kids or whatever it may be. And it's a really, really holistic and unique environment. And I would say, we're one of the hardest working teams I've ever seen when it comes to the production work that we've done and things like that. So I totally hear what you're saying. And frankly, I love these questions because, like, I don't usually get to talk about the kind of unique remote work angle of this, but I do think it's a really powerful part of the virtual collaboration narrative. Yeah. One thing I would add too is that
Yeah,
so many of the people who are coming to us now are not Web3 people. We've got people coming in the door who have been designing virtual spaces for years now, because there's still huge demand amongst like major brands for virtual activations. So we've got people coming in the door who have discovered Passage as we've been pushing the closed alpha a little bit more. And they're coming with like a wild client list. I mean, people who are working for like Microsoft, Intel, huge brands doing some type of virtual activation, and they've already got like Unreal Engine worlds that they've designed, right? And they want to bring it into Passage because this is the best place for creators, right? This is the only place where they can get people into their virtual worlds like this one, with no barriers, right? I mean, both of you got in here with one click. Sarah was asking me beforehand, like, is there a download? And I'm like, nope, there's no download. You'll click one link and you'll be in the world, right? And so a lot of people are coming to us for that workflow, right? For that infrastructure. That's a big part of kind of our growing closed alpha now. And it's people who, for the most part, have no idea about the Web3 elements. And that's just kind of like a bonus for people. It's the kind of the underlying infrastructure. So
yeah, absolutely. I agree. I agree on the last statement. And on what you said about working remotely, I'd say fair enough. You have a good point there. Absolutely. Um, and to talk a little bit more about the team, I was curious to know two things. The first one is, uh, what are your responsibilities towards Passage
mm,
as an employee? And also, can you perhaps mention a little bit about the team and who they are and what is the history behind it? Because you've been developing this product for quite some time, so I was curious to
yeah.
know about that.
No, I love that. That's a fantastic question. So yeah, this team has kind of been vetted through trial by fire, man. We've been through a whole lot together. So again, like I said, we started off as a creative studio, and it was probably about 2020 we started building what would become Passage, but we didn't know it at the time. And then 2021, I think, is where we really started seeing it as a product, right? Because initially it was a service, right? It was just, we'd been in the service business as a studio, working with big brands. And so when we did these contracts for Amazon, Capitol Records, it was really like, okay, we're building a thing, but it was only once we got into it. And actually, it was really funny. Probably a breakthrough moment was, I think this was end of 2021, where we did the office party. So we did this big event for Capitol Records. It was called Capitol Royale. It's like a music and technology event. We had like Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Brie Larson there speaking. Really, really cool. We had multiple stages with different things going on. And it was all built around this virtual Capitol Records tower. Um, and they loved it so much that they actually asked us, like, hey, can we do our holiday party or office party in Passage? Because we haven't, what was it? They hadn't opened up the tower again for like physical events. And so they wanted to meet in the virtual tower in Passage. And it was that moment we actually hung out at the Capitol Records Christmas party where their CEO gave a talk inside Passage to the whole team, and we're running around. And it was at that point that we realized how powerful this was, because we saw people connecting, and you'd see people run into each other and be like, "Oh, it's so and so, right? It's John, from accounting." And that kind of like running into people accidentally has never happened before in a virtual experience, right? Because people don't run into each other, right? In Zoom, right? It's like, no, like we're all going to be here, right? But we're not really together because there isn't a sense of place with Zoom. So that was a huge pivot point, just seeing like the serendipity that happens inside Passage. And I would say it was 2020 where we really transitioned to seeing this 2021, where we transitioned to seeing this as a product. That's when we started to separate the teams. So we had a specific development team that got separated for Passage. And these are, developers and engineers who were with us through these like really, really fundamental periods. So like I'd be up with 3 a.m. with up until 3 a.m. with Mike, our CTO, before these crazy deadlines for Amazon, troubleshooting stuff and just working through bugs. And so all of them have been kind of through that trial by fire of building this application. They've all worked on these projects for Warner Brothers, Capitol Records, Disney, Marvel. So they've all kind of been through that process and understand like what it takes to make something really unique, and also just like the grind of building a product. So now we do have team members. The two teams are distinct now, separate. There's 3D Vision, the studio, and then there's Passage. I'm the founder of both, but right now I'm the chief creative officer of Passage, the platform. And we've got some incredible people who are still running the creative work over on the studio side. And they're actually doing like 3D animation classes inside of Passage and fun things like that. So even the studio is leveraging the technology in really cool ways. And we do like team meetings inside of Passage. So it's been a fun journey.
I am just checking out your website and trying to get my bearings here as a user. And I see you have a world builder with there's templates, there's plugins.
Mm,
Walk me through it. Like I do PR, so I have clients coming for AMAs, and they
yeah,
want
yeah.
press releases and exposure and all that. Now, if a client, like what kind of client is going to want, is it their own open world? Can they build their own
Oh,
open
yeah.
world in Passage?
Yeah,
Or how's it going to work? Who's using this? Like, pitch it
absolutely.
to me like I'm pitching it to a client. What
Oh,
what can they
amen.
do?
So Passage is making virtual more human. That's the fundamental premise, right? And we take virtual experiences. We're the only platform in the world right now where you can get unlimited graphics and unlimited accessibility, right? So we take immersion and accessibility, no compromises, right? There's no apps, there's no downloads, there's no load time. It's instant access to the most immersive worlds possible. That's Passage in a nutshell, right? There's a lot of people who want that. The area we have seen that has the most impact right now, we believe, is remote collaboration, remote work, right? Right now, 20% of the world is working remotely. 16% of teams are fully remote. And like I said, almost 100% of people want to be working remote some amount of the time. So the question is, how do we do that in a way that is more accessible, that's more human, more personal? And what's really unique about Passage, I would say that it is really catered right now for groups, right? Not crowds, not like giant audiences of people, because Passage is actually more like a physical event than a virtual event. And that's it's interesting because the problem is virtual events aren't really like events. They're like watching a live stream, right? Because in most virtual events, you are just this nameless, faceless, little character running around, and the human interaction is almost zero, right? Which is just like being that person in the chat on a live stream, where you're just one little blip of text that races across the live stream chat and never to be seen again, right? That's how most virtual events are now. With Passage, because there is this real sense of presence, this real sense of like being with people in a group, it is more natural to have smaller groups. So like less than 100 people, in a room. You can tell how like looking at this space, if we had 100 people in here, it would feel kind of crowded, right? Because each person has a face and a voice, right? It's like walking through a convention, not like walking through an MMORPG or some online game, right? And so this is really unique in that element that it's more personal. So right now it is really catered towards like teams that are working together in groups of 20, 40 max, right? Like smaller groups. It's also really good for communities when you're trying to cater to your VIPs. So whether it's a content creator that has a VIP community, they've got like an exclusive membership or something, they can bring their most dedicated followers into Passage for the live interaction, right? And everybody else can watch on the stream, that type of thing. That's really where Passage is like hardcore focused in our go to market. And then as we expand, as we grow, we'll have more diverse formats, right? We'll do the crowd thing because there's some places where it can be useful, but we're always going to be trying to do this in a way that is more human, more personal. So we're going to be doing the large scale events in a very unique way. So this scales up, but it's going to be done very thoughtfully and strategically to preserve, the human essence of it throughout.
Now, I'm thinking of this actually in terms of a magazine I work on. So I work on Gen 3
Mm,
magazine. It's a web-free magazine. Now, they've always had these back and forth conversations about, having worlds or gone back and forth looking at it.
yeah.
Now, if they were going to come in and they wanted, say, like a meeting and event space, right? Maybe it's small.
Yep.
It's going to usually be 3 people. Sometimes it'll be 20. Now, I see all these options here, which look pretty simple: templates, world builders, SDK. Now, do we go in ourselves? Can we create our own custom immersive world? Do we go in a pre-made one? Is it a subscription service? What's the flow going to be like
Oh, that's
as a
fantastic.
project coming
Yeah,
in?
that's a great question. So right now in the closed alpha, the way we're doing it is that our long-term model is a subscription-based model, right? So there'd be a monthly fee to get access for your team. And what you're doing is you're buying access to create worlds, right? You're not paying for uh, the your guests, right? So it's just you're paying for your team to build worlds, to set up events, um, and we have a dashboard that you'll be able to go into. You'll set up your subscription. You'll go into the dashboard. You'll create an event. You'll set the time you want the event to be, how many people you want to be in there, and then the only other thing you're paying for apart from the subscription is your hosting costs, right? So we're running high-end GPUs for the users to stream this to the end user, which means that basically, this is what allows you to get in instantly. Is that your world is being hosted on these high-end GPUs in the cloud and streamed to the end user. The end user doesn't have to worry about what device they're on or their computer specs or anything like that. If they can stream Netflix or YouTube, they can stream Passage. So that makes it really easy for the end user. So you're paying for your subscription and your hosting. It's just like it's just like a website, right? Um, and basically, in terms of creating your own world, right now, our first integration is with Unreal Engine 5, right? We're in an Unreal Engine 5 world right now. We'll have other integrations with like Unity or Godot, which is an open source engine. But right now we focused on Unreal Engine 5 because it has a huge creator economy. You can go into the Unreal Engine marketplace today and find offices, convention centers, fantasy environments, sci-fi environments, anything your heart could imagine, right? And you might pay 50, $100 for a AAA high-end world. Now it's not going to be completely custom, but you can get that off the shelf for cheap right now and plug it into Passage instantly. And within, really just as quickly as you can upload it, you can have it live on Passage, right? So there is a really powerful workflow right now because of the huge creator ecosystem around Unreal Engine 5. So that's a primary workflow where people will be, you can bring your own build, your own Unreal Engine 5 build. You can grab one off the marketplace. So there's lots of stuff that's just ready-made that's available. And we do have studios we can connect teams with if they want customizations. But at the same time, there's so many materials out there for customizing Unreal Engine spaces without any code, without any like technical experience. So there's a huge opportunity to do it yourself. Now that said, we will have more built-in tools for some of the drag and drop features, right? Just making it dead simple for people. But that's part of what we're testing for in our closed alpha is like, what are the things that people are going to want access to customize, right? Unreal Engine by itself has so many very accessible customization features that we want to make sure we're giving people really just like the features they need. So that's part of what we're testing for in closed alpha is what are the features that are going to go into kind of our drag and drop system where people can customize templates or existing worlds, things like that. And then just making it as easy as possible for people to bring in their own environments. So like a lot of the teams that are onboarding into the closed alpha now, they're coming with Unreal Engine assets. And what's really cool about that is there's going to be a growing creator economy around Passage where you'll be able to come into Passage and just pick from templates from all kinds of creators who are building on the platform. So there will be more options kind of ready-made in the Passage ecosystem. But at the same time, you can always bring in anything from the Unreal Engine ecosystem because we have native integration.
I am totally following this now. And that makes sense, especially just from my specific experience I was curious about. Now, what is instant commerce? I see we can monetize our world through subscriptions,
Yes.
ticketing, and gated experiences.
Yep.
How do we do it?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now we have integrations with just like typical Web 2 payments. So like we have an integration via Stripe, right, for subscriptions, for fiat payments. We'll also have, we're finishing up a sprint now doing like blockchain integrations where you'll be able to gate worlds via an NFT or, a token somebody might be holding. Again, everything we're doing, frankly, our first priority in turn is user experience, right? And so we have put kind of the Web 2 integration first, and then we follow up with the blockchain integration. Because for us, the most important thing is no barriers, right? We want an experience that anybody in Web 2 can get into instantly without having to learn something new. And then the Web 3 goodies, right, are just under the surface. So it allows it to be an educational process for Web 2 users where they can get in and then figure out the Web3 stuff, right? So we'll have NFT integrations where you could do avatar customizations. You can do gated events via NFTs. You could gate a specific space of your event based off an NFT. You could have like a VIP lounge in your event. So anyone can get in, but only the VIP NFT holders can get into the lounge. Things like that where just because of the flexibility of Unreal Engine itself, and our layer 1 Cosmos SDK blockchain, there'll be a lot of native features. And again, our big goal here on the Web3 side is interoperability. So we're already building experiences for the community that will integrate Solana cross-chain transactions between Solana and IBC. We'll be doing some fun EVM integrations because the goal is that people don't have to think about these things, right? That we'll be doing blockchain abstraction via something like Zion Chain in the IBC world, so that people don't have to worry about what assets they're using or what chain they're on as much as possible, right? But for people who do want to dig into those details, they have that option as well.
That's very interesting. I want to talk a little bit more about the on-chain part. Uh, I see you have a token, so I would like to learn a little bit more about it. What is the utility and what are the use cases of the token? And I see also you have a marketplace, and you are selling NFTs for basically with your token. So is that the only utility, or is there anything else the users should know about it?
Yes, no, that's a great question. So the reason to integrate blockchain is ownership, right? So in these virtual experiences, we are putting more and more of our identities into these online interactions, right? Whether it's the things that we customize, the connections, the people that we make, right? One of our big theses long term is allowing people to capture ownership of their relationships, right? So when you connect to somebody in a Passage meeting, being able to have that connection live on the blockchain as an owned asset, so that theoretically you could actually start a professional social network and integrate the Passage relationship protocol, and all your connections move seamlessly from Passage to other platforms, right? So that's looking at the long term. Short term, what are the most important things to own in Passage are customizations, levels. So people who are contributing 3D assets to the ecosystem can own these and sell these to other users who want to customize their experience, whether it's customizing these cute little avatars or whether it's customizing or just totally changing the avatar, right? So you could have customizations that go onto these avatars or just totally different avatars that you sell. You can sell whole worlds or templates or different pieces to a world, right? Different kinds of buildings, different kinds of foliage. You could sell like pets. You can also sell game functionality. So people could own like a feature set. And if you drag this feature set onto your world, you'll get access to paintball guns where you can shoot each other during your meeting, right? Or things like that. So there's all kinds of things that people can own in this environment. And there will be, that will grow massively, right? Like that's going to continue to expand because again, people are investing so much of their connections, the time they spend into virtual spaces, whether it's a social network, whether it's a work network, or whether it's games, right? So much time and personality is invested in these spaces. So ownership is a key part of it. why do we need a layer 1 chain for that? Why don't we do a layer 2 or whatever, like just smart contracts? And part of that is because we want to be able to optimize the chain specifically for our unique use case, right? There is no other ecosystem right now where you can get access to native cross-platform 3D assets on chain. It just doesn't exist, right? And for Passage, it's specifically unique because we want to expand this not only for 3D assets, but for people, for relationships, and give people the opportunity to own everything that they experience. So that's part of why the whole Cosmos vision of app-specific chains and IBC landscape is really important. Okay, we are losing Sarah. Sarah is just going off into the.
Okay, that was funny. I have no idea what's going on. I'm just.
Are you using the wrong keys or something? Did you press?
I was on another screen.
Oh, that's so funny. Are you in now? Are you good? What are you seeing?
So I'm on another screen, but no, I'm in now, but I move forward and then I automatically move back.
Oh, here. Press escape. Okay. Now click to the screen again, or try to move forward now. Here. Click the little. Oh wait. That is so funny. Click the little exit button.
Leaving.
I would just click the little exit button in the top right and just jump back in, and you'll appear at the beginning. Oh, she is gone.
Yeah.
That is so funny. She found like a glitch in here too, so like she like went through the wall.
This is very interesting actually, because sometimes when you are in a meeting, you want to do something else because you are listening, but perhaps you can do things at the same time.
Oh yeah, right. Walking and talking.
Actually very interesting. Yeah.
We just had a conversation in Passage yesterday where the person I was interviewing was like jumping around the level while we were talking, and he was like, hey, I'll stop so we can talk. And I'm like, no, don't stop. That's what Passage is for. Like, do your thing, run around, be ADHD. Like that's part of what this environment is for, is that like you can do more than just stand in a circle, you know?
It reminds me of two things. The first one being, I like actually to walk while I speak.
Yes.
And I do my best when I'm in spaces. For example, I walk around my house because I can't stay sitting and listen to people. And the second one is when I jump into AMAs on Discord, I always play with the community. So there are these little games.
Yes.
It gets a little bit boring just listening to others. So you want to do something in the meantime, but stay all together. So this is actually very, very interesting, and I'm quite enjoying it.
Good. Yeah. I mean, I love the idea that like you could walk and talk during a conversation, right? We can set up these very realistic and fun looking environments where you've got like a big mountain trail, and it could be that like there's little targets all along your path and you have to take turns shooting the target. So like there's something you're both doing together idly that leads you in a direction on a walk, quote unquote, right? But it's also really passive, right? It's like really chill. It's just kind of like, and it not only does it force people to be engaged, but it also allows them to relax, right? They're not thinking as much about like, oh, what does my video look like? Because most people are just like right up in here, right? They're looking at their own video. They're focused on themselves. And when you're in a game like environment, we've noticed it really does change the atmosphere in terms of like how people see the experience. It really helps people to feel more connected and not worrying about themselves as much.
That is so true. It's so often I'm like in Zoom and you're talking to yourself half the time because your face is looking back at you. And that's extremely distracting, to have to talk to yourself. Like you don't do that in real life. I'm not looking at myself and I'm talking to people.
Yeah.
So I actually like that feature a lot.
Yep. No, I love that.
I'd say it's very cool because trying to make a joke here actually. at least we can walk a little bit. We feel our 10,000 steps on a daily basis.
Yeah, we'll have to
And
have like
so, yeah,
yeah, we need to get the virtual version of that. What's your
yeah,
score, right? We'll get like a step counter in here and gamify the whole experience.
absolutely. This was very, very fun. Absolutely. And
Yeah,
yeah,
no, I'm sorry. I decided to go on a tour all by myself. No, that was my fault. My computer was glitching and I'm on just a mouse pad and I don't even know how to use my mouse pad for like regular use.
No,
And in
you're all
here,
good.
I think I did like a double scroll with my fingers and it's something, it's something different. And I just kept walking backwards until I fell off the world. It was an experience.
That is
you
First
hacked
time
the
I
hilarious.
metaverse.
I know she's already glitching. That's awesome.
I'll do it again, no doubt. So what is coming up next? So I've got a pretty good understanding after this talk of how this works and how
Yeah.
how we can use it, how projects can use it. It's a lot of fun. I think we need to explore even more to check this out. But what's next? When can people just flood in and start using us?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would say for one, anybody who wants to get involved, join our Discord. We are in closed alpha, but that's only closed alpha for the creators, right? Anyone can join a Passage world. You just got to find a creator who's doing stuff, right? We have a small group of people who are building events, who are doing stuff in Passage. And personally, our team hosts sessions in Passage every single week. So I don't know anybody who uses their product as much as we do. But every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern, we have a community call, GM tidings, we call it, and we're all jumping into Passage together. And if you jump in the Discord, you can grab a link and come hang out with us when we're jumping in, or you can just watch. So the beauty is, some people can hang out inside Passage. Some people can just watch the stream from Discord and they see us in Passage. So it's a really cool experience where you get to see. We try out different kinds of worlds. We try out different kinds of features, different games in Passage. So it's a really fun time. And then in terms of if you're a creator, go on to the Passage.io website, fill out our form for the waitlist, or go on socials. We've got links for the waitlist form. Um, and get on the waitlist because we are actively bringing in new creators pretty much every week. We're onboarding new people in waves. And we're just picking out people who have, really good potential for creating in this environment, right? So if you're a creator who's building virtual worlds or wants to build virtual worlds, or you're a content creator and you feel like you've got a really good use case, reach out on the waitlist, reach out in Discord or on socials. You can find me at Lex Avellino everywhere. Um, and yeah, we'll get you involved. Open beta we're targeting for beginning of next year, so we have a couple months through now where we're going to be testing and iterating with the community and the growing list of creators in Passage. And then after that is when we'll open this up to everybody to be creating inside the Passage. But that said, there's going to be a lot of fun stuff to do and to try out along the way.
Amazing. I think we covered it. You actually just answered my last question was how the creators get involved. So we're done there. Mark, do you have any more questions?
Oh no, I don't. I don't. Absolutely. What's the next? Yeah, I do have one. I do have one. What is the next event you're going to host, perhaps in your metaverse or on X or on your community?
Yeah, I mean, shoot, we're hosting like conversations with other teams and projects all the time. We will be doing some fun stuff for Cosmoverse in the IBC world, and people should keep an eye out for the community hub that we're building, which is going to be a big center for interchain education and community.
Nice. Keep it up.
Appreciate it.
All right. Well, I definitely think this was our most immersive podcast ever. I
Yes.
do feel like I'm in the world, or it is a different experience. My brain is in a different place right now. So that was a lot of fun. Thanks for having us. We're gonna have to figure out soon. Me and Mark are gonna have to have a chat and see if we can get our own podcast world going in here
I
in
love
the
it.
upcoming launches. But we're gonna wrap this up. We're out of time. This is Sarah, block editor. I'm here with Mark, MHL.eth. Today we were inside Passage IO with Lex Avellino, and that was another episode of How I Met Web3. So that's all we need for our
Beautiful.
audio, but this was fun.
Yes, I'll get you some
This was a
edits.
lot of
I'll
fun.
get you an edited version So you
Perfect.
can pull the audio for whatever you need. You can use video for clips, whatever, and we'll go from there.
Get me anything. I don't usually do video, but I think we should eventually, Mark. Um, how fun would it be to host podcasts inside of something like this?
Heck yeah.
Yeah,
Once I figure out
absolutely.
how to use it.
Yes, exactly.
I don't know what was going on. I I I I kept like changing my view where I'm looking at the back of my head, and then I was going. I don't know. Oh, I did a screenshot. So I did a
Oh.
control shift as screenshot, and then
Mhm.
after I finished it, I was just moving backwards like nonstop.
Nice. Okay.
So
I
that
got.
was I couldn't stop myself.
Oh, that's wild. I got to hop for our next call, but this was an absolute blast. I really appreciate both of you taking the time. Great questions. It was a lot of
So
fun.
much fun. We'll see you in Discord.
Awesome. Peace.
Max, have a good one.